Good morning, good afternoon. Kent Bain with 9 Business Group. Welcome to Elevate Your Business Spotlight interview with Jeff Lowe of Smart Technologies. Jeff, welcome. Please introduce yourself and your company. And while you do that, tell us what sets you apart, what separates Smart Technologies from the rest of the company, and why people buy from you versus the competition. Jeff, welcome.
Excellent. Thank you, Kent. It's great to be with you today. And Smart Technologies is a global technology company really known for the invention of the smartboard. Over 30 years ago, we're a very proud Canadian company, but we operate in countries all over the world. We're in 3 million classrooms and operate with 60 million students and teachers all over the world. We're also in the corporate collaboration space, but we're best known for being an education technology provider. And what sets us apart in the category, I think, are a couple of things. First of all, we were pioneers and first to market. So in fact, we invented touch and we invented the smartboard, which has become like a Kleenex sort of environment. It's become what any board is known as, which is both a blessing and a curse for our brand. But we are the first, and we're known for being innovative and the leader and the premium brand in the category. The other thing I would say that really sets us apart is we're a purpose-based organization, and we really are all about getting outcomes for students and teachers first and foremost, not just a technology lens of putting in great technology. So we have a lot of robust competition that have come up over the years that absolutely produce a viable product and good technology. And we talk a lot about the difference between a vendor and a partner with a customer. And we have actually a large percentage of our staff at Smart comes from education, former teachers, former principals, former curriculum directors that have joined Smart to make a difference in the world and touch as many students and teachers as possible. So having that purpose-based organization and really being an outcomes-based approach to our customers versus just putting in technology and leaving and crossing our fingers is the other thing that really sets us apart.
Excellent, cool. So you say 30 years and how many students or how many classrooms? That's a pretty phenomenal number.
Yeah, 3 million classrooms around the world, 60 million students. And one of the best things about my job is traveling all over the world and being in the classroom and seeing, whether it's in Australia or the United States or the United Arab Emirates, Africa, seeing technology that was invented right here in Calgary being deployed and seeing students and teachers using it is just a phenomenal experience. It's just the favorite part of my job.
So cool. I'm going off script. It sparked a question. I want to ask it. What is the most creative, innovative thing you've seen someone do with one of your products? Because I kind of visualize the standard same old whiteboard, but in your years, there have to be some pretty fun things that you've seen teachers do with it. Can you give us a story as to kind of one of those success stories of where they took the product and did something just a little bit innovative that made a big difference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have all sorts of those type of examples. Usually what it involves is totally changing how a subject is taught using our technology. And it's of course, it's not just the board. It's how the content is being deployed. So let's imagine the most recent example I had was teaching a group of high school students about essay writing, right? So the traditional model of that is the teacher stands at the front of the class and talks about how to compose an essay and the finer parts of language arts and literature, and the students go off and do an assignment and hand it in. Like that's what we're all familiar with. What you're able to do now with technology is really amazing. Is let's have the students help themselves and co-collaborate on an essay. And what they're doing is they're using smart software in that regard. Not that many people know that we have software that allows people to work on their iPads or their laptops, co-create an essay, run it by each other, then come back up to the front of the room, present their essay to the class on how they did. And what happens is just the skill set and the curriculum, or what they call the pedagogy in education, just lands so much in a faster way, where the students are taking a lot more active participation in their own learning. So you know that could be a physics lesson, or it could be learning vowels or verbs and nouns, or your ABCs. But that's really been pervasive, is how the whole dynamic of teaching is changing and giving students a lot more voice in their education. And a lot of that is due to yes, the use of a smartboard, but also the use of our software in combination with that.
Cool, excellent. Thank you for putting up with my ad-libbing there.
No problem.
Since you've been with Smart, what has been the biggest challenge you've overcome? How did you tackle it? How did you resolve it? And what's the result today?
That would definitely be culture, is how I would answer that question. So the culture at Smart has been a bit of a roller coaster ride over the years. If I go back to 2014, 2015 area, there was lots of things going on in our business. Part of that involved what we call a strategic review, and we were being purchased as a company. We rate our culture by something we call an engagement score that many people will probably be familiar with. There's a number of companies that rate culture using engagement. Score out of 1 out of 100, and we were in the 45, 46 range at the time. That's not a fun place to work. That's it wouldn't be too much of an exaggeration to say that's a toxic culture. Okay. when you're below 50. And so one of the things we did after an acquisition of Smart in 2016 is the executive team dedicated itself to culture. And that alone is the main thing, honestly, is there's not that many leadership teams in my experience that say we are going to dedicate ourselves to culture. It's not left to one department or HR. It's the leadership team of the company. So that's the short answer of what we did. A bit of the longer answer in terms of the details is we studied the best practices and the best known cultures in business. So companies like Microsoft, companies like Southwest Airlines, companies like Netflix, who enjoy great cultures and great business results as a result of their culture. And we said, what did they do? And they do things like they have shared purpose initiatives where they distill their purpose to every single employee in the company and really make that land for what does that mean to me as an individual contributor. They do things like they compose behavioral frameworks. So it's nice to have corporate values, but what does that really mean? How are we expecting and holding ourselves accountable to what behaviors we expect on a day-to-day basis with ourselves, with our customers, with our partners? And then the third thing that the best practice companies did is they deploy grassroots teams. They turn over big challenges to the employee base and say, help us fix these systemic issues. So we did those three things, amongst other things, but those were the big three. And so here we are 6-7 years later, and we are now recognized as best in class globally for our culture across all industries. We're an 89, so we've gone from 46
wow.
to 89 in 7 years. And like I say, the shorter answer is this: we decided to focus on it, and there's to spend as much time on culture as we do corporate performance.
So you've kind of jumped to the next question, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. So with a large organization, how many employees do you have? And what else can you offer to that top of the house type of conversation to help the culture of an organization? Can you be a little more specific or examples to kind of, because you are a large organization, and for a lot of companies, that's a hard, it's a massive beast to change because you're dealing with multiple personalities, cultures, language, et cetera. So can you get a little bit deeper for the people out there who are running 100+ people organizations?
Yeah, so we have 650 employees around the world, and you're right, to different frameworks and perspectives all over the map. But like I said, the first thing is to focus on it and talk about it and measure it. So the saying, what gets measured gets managed, and I think that's very true of culture. So of course we have a corporate scorecard. This is the health of the company. This is how the company is doing. So first and foremost, include culture on that scorecard. So it's a balanced scorecard approach that says, here's our financial metrics of how the company is doing. Here's how our culture is doing. And that's with our engagement measure that I was talking about previously. And then repetition and consistency on that, right? Is in terms of every single month we have a town hall. Every single month we talk about how are we doing against our culture. So that's one thing, is just the overall focus of the entire leadership team and the fabric of this is on our corporate scorecard. This is on the objectives of our CEO. Okay. And again, it's not left just to HR to manage our culture, although HR is the steward of the culture.
Sure.
The other thing, one of the smartest things we ever did was to say, we don't have all the answers on this. So when you get a survey back and it says, well, what are the impediments of the culture? Here's all the things we're doing well, but what are the opportunities for improvement? And so let's go to the bottom 3 or the bottom 5. And to resist the urge to think we're smart enough to say, so here's what we're going to do about that, and we're going to roll out all these top-down programs. We did the exact opposite and said, here's our top 3 focus areas as a company to improve our culture. Who would like to put up their hands to be on a committee to help solve this and bring forward ideas and solutions? And we had over 10% of our employee base put up their hand.
Wow, that's incredible.
So then what you had is people from all different parts of the organization, sales, engineering, finance, HR, getting together, forming a committee, and coming with ideas that we have then implemented. So that's the grassroots approach of the employees bringing to the ideas to the company. And so many of them we have now that have come to us from these foundational grassroots teams. So that's something we started several years ago, and we continue to this day. And it's just been a huge part of our success, is turning over the culture to the employee base.
I didn't give you this question. I'm ad-libbing again. Sorry, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What was the impact on revenue? What was the impact on the financial side of the business? I can make some guesses, but what did you, it feels like it's, if we move the needle in this one's going to go because. So was there an impact on revenue and profitability as a result?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a 40 to 50% growth rate in our revenue over the past 3-4 years, year over year, and we're projecting to do so again this year. Now, we don't draw a direct cause and effect. It's really hard to do that and say it's because of all these changes that we've made, all these improvements to our culture. But obviously the connection is felt and it's there. Yeah. And we also look at things like employee attrition or employee retention, which is very strong. And that's another, by the way, corporate metric for us that's on our corporate scorecard, which has remained very strong. Because we have a belief that the business results are not sustainable without a high engagement score.
100%. Whether you're a business of 10 or 650 or 6,500, if you're spending a certain amount of mental capacity, leadership time, hiring staff versus keeping them, that's going to have an impact on your profitability, client satisfaction, all of it. So there may not be a direct correlation, may not be the cause, but there's definitely a correlation, because even to support the growth, you need the team. The team needs to be there with the right culture. So thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, I think it's even more important now out of the pandemic than it was before. It's always been important, but I think people have really self-reflected over the pandemic and engagement and working for a place where they really feel they're making a difference and they're respected and trusted and all those fundamental things, and they have an opportunity for growth. Those are more important now today than ever.
Absolutely. And I think we saw a lot of employees got some real good insight to their employers and their businesses as they navigated COVID and the changes they made. And I think we got to see a lot of good insight, good and bad, to leadership styles and those values. And all of a sudden, we had those inklings as employees before, but now it's very clear. It's like, I'm with these guys. I'm going through the wall for you versus, maybe got to find a better place to fit. So good for you guys. Because I think I've talked to many, probably half a dozen, maybe a dozen tech companies now in the last 6 months. It's the biggest challenge they're having is staffing. And for you guys to have made that change in the last 2 years, so you're not suffering maybe as much as them in the fight for talent. So it's huge.
Yeah.
Next question. If there was a pirate, a thief in your business, what would they be stealing from you? And where would they be hiding it?
Yeah. One of the toughest things for us that's still a frustration and something that we're trying to get our heads around is more of a long-term focus versus short-term focus. So it's we feel there's just so much potential for us in the marketplace for from a product perspective, that's new solution development and adjacency products and solutions to the markets that we're in right now. How do we free up enough resources to focus on building out and expanding while we have our finger on the pulse of making sure we're meeting our financial responsibilities this quarter and this year. And you know, I'm responsible for marketing in the company, so the marketing angle on that, short term versus long term, is really how much we spend on brand building versus product and solution marketing and demand gen.
Okay.
And you know, there's this fascinating piece of research that just came out that I was just totally taken aback by, but it just confirmed what I thought. But just to see the data was really kind of jolting, which is, and just think about this for any business, for anybody who's listening, at any point in time, 95% of the market is not in the market for your products and solutions. So 95% of your customers are out of market. So your product messaging and your service messaging and your differentiation of how you're better than your competition and your features and your functions and your benefits are not relevant to 95% of the market. But it's actually where most companies, most marketers are spending 95% of their time. So because the people who are out of market, it's not that you don't market to them, but you market to them in a different way.
Yep.
You market to them with emotion and what you stand for and what you believe in and what you do. So when they do fall into market, you're going to be in their consideration set.
Yeah.
So anyways, when you couple those two things together, we're always working on how do we better balance the short term with the long term, and yes, make sure that we're making our short-term financial commitments while we're talking to customers who are out of market, building our brand for future growth and building those solutions in new areas.
So to simplify that, because that was a great answer, might be over a few people's heads. It would be like you, back to the pirate, you have a fleet, you got your fleet around the world, importing, exporting, picking up things, globalizing, and at the same time, you're trying to not just expand the fleet, but modernize it. So you kind of need to protect your routes, keep delivering the goods, for lack of a better word, but then modernize the fleet and expand it into new places. Is that a pretty good summary?
Pretty good summary. You know, we're on these routes and we got to make sure we make them, but what about new routes? What about a better way to get there? How do we yes, expand our fleet, while we make sure that we're being 100% accurate on the one that we're on now.
Cool.
So it's always that, you know, it's the classic urgent versus important matrix.
Yep, absolutely. In-house, does Smart measure the effectiveness of their employees? If so, how? What kind of example can you share with us on a scoreboard? I love the word scoreboard. It helps people be competitive. What do you guys use?
Yeah, so I've talked about our corporate scorecard.
Yep.
So we start there, and we do waterfall that down to the employee level. So what we do is there's actually 3 different levels. So we have a corporate scorecard that says, here's the top 10 metrics that define the health of our business, including some of the ones I've been talking about earlier. And then we have departmental scorecards that nest in underneath that. So for the finance department, for the marketing department, for the HR department, etc., here's our departmental scorecard. And literally you can see on a chart how the departmental scorecard aligns up to the corporate scorecard. And so you know where I'm going next.
Yeah.
Is now you have an employee who's in a department, and all of our employees have documented performance objectives that are attached to their departmental scorecard and the corporate scorecard. And we actually are we're very diligent on this. We roll this out over the course of an extended period, and we workshop this with our teams. And we're quite fond of saying, if you find yourself doing an initiative or a project that doesn't attach to your departmental or corporate scorecard, you really have to ask yourself why you're doing that, because it's all about line of sight. So anyways, yes, all of our employees have performance objectives documented that do align up to the scorecard. But here's something that I think is super interesting to the second half of my answer. That's only half of how they're evaluated.
Oh.
So the other half is on culture. So you could the first part of your personal evaluation at Smart is, how are you doing against your objectives? How are you meeting or exceeding your objectives? Basically, what have you done? The second part is, are you living the values and behaviors that we've documented in our behavioral framework that I talked about earlier? And so it's not just what you do, but it's how you do it. And it's a full 50% of an employee evaluation. So you could be doing incredible things, but then if you're falling down on the values and behaviors, you're not going to get a very good rating, and vice versa. So that just shows you, I think, how much emphasis and merit we've put into the culture card at SMART.
Cool. Very cool. I think that's awesome. Corporate guy, check. What is your definition of a successful business?
For me, when I think of a successful business, I think of the 3 Ps. So the first one I think is the obvious one that most people will go to, at least in the answer: profit. So of course we're a profitable organization. So profitable growth year over year and meeting the financial obligations for our stakeholders is the first definition of success. The second one is one we've been talking a lot about today: is people. What is the health of the culture? Because one will be a determining factor for the other. Firmly believe that a strong culture and a highly engaged workforce will sustain profitability and results over time. And you really can't have one without the other, at least not for very long. And then the third P is purpose. So, and I'm so grateful and fortunate that I work in an organization that has such a strong purpose.
What do you personally want to be known for? When you look at your career, your legacy, your time at SMART, what do you personally want to be known for?
Yeah, when I look back at my career at SMART and even at other companies, I really reflect and hope I'm remembered for being a builder. I've really leaned into projects or assignments or even companies where there's a green field, there's nothing there, but there's a huge opportunity of something to be built. And usually that's a pretty major undertaking. It's not a several week or several month project. Usually it transcends years of being part of a really great team to build something that didn't exist before. Like the brand at SMART or the culture at SMART. That's the most rewarding, is to look back and say, wow, I was part of that. I was part of building something really special. The second thing is I hope to be remembered as a huge advocate for the marketing function, the profession of marketing, because I think it's undervalued. It's a bit of a Rodney Dangerfield approach with marketing. It doesn't get that much respect in business that it deserves. And I've been in marketing my whole career. I've been a huge advocate for how strategic and how critical the role of marketing is. And that's why I serve on the board at the Calgary Marketing Association, is to continue to foster the brand of marketing and along the way, hopefully convince some pretty amazing talent and some pretty amazing people to spend their career in marketing. And I've, seen some people grow that I've worked with up to senior ranks. And that just is so fulfilling to me, to really just advocate for marketing and for people in marketing.
I think it's a worthy cause. Good for you. Because if I look at my 25 years in the world of coaching, leadership, a lot of that is marketing. My 10 years in Imperial Oil was all marketing. But I think the challenge with it nowadays is it's an easy space to enter into.
Yeah,
we build a website and we're now a marketing website person, but I think the space is so big because there is an education component, there's a public relations component to it. So good for you. I think it's a worthy fight. One last question. So before we close off, thank you. You've been great with your time. Any closing plugs for SMART? Where do people want to get more information if they want to learn more about SMART boards, or to connect with you to learn more about culture and how you're changing the culture of the companies you work for?
Yeah, I've really appreciated being on the call. It's a great chat. And if people want to learn more about what I've been talking about or to connect with me directly, go to smarttech.com/team, and you'll see some of our work there and some of my personal work, both on marketing and culture, and a way to connect with me.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kent. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.